and welcome to this video. This is going to be another vinyl update. This is number 43 we're on to now, and like, this is going to be sort of like the second part of like my finds which I got like in like America. So these ones come from Austin and San Antonio. So like if you didn't watch like the last video like I was over like in like America for 2 weeks, spending some time like with like my great friend vinyl collector James. Like we made a few videos together, so once again I will link those in the description. So I'll just get started with the first batch. Like as I said again, like if like you watched like the last update, like I'm doing this one like kind of like by store, like basically like in like the order like which I could bought like the albums. So the first little batch here came from Austin like record shops. The first one's from Waterloo Records, like sort of like the world famous store. Like they gave me like one of like their sort of record store day tote bags like which they had like left over, which was pretty nice. So there's Waterloo Records going to be the first one today. So I got Waterloo Records is more sort of like for like new albums. Like if like after like anything like any new releases like they pretty much like got covered. Like however like the used section like was a little bit like less than like satisfactory, but I did pick up a few things in there like a DVD like and a CD. I got Paul McCartney's Back in the US concert film, which I'd never seen before. Like I don't think like it was ever issued like in like the UK. So hopefully like this plays. Like James just showed me that this should be like region 3, so hopefully like it will play like on like my DVD player. And then I got a XTC CD for the album Wasp Star here. Now this was very difficult to get on vinyl. Like however like this one as well as Apple Venus is getting reissued like towards the end of September, which I'm very thankful for. So this is just like the CD version like of Wasp Star. If I could get it open at least. Yeah, there's a CD and you get a little booklet with it as well. So that's very nice find there as well. And then the only records which I got from Waterloo were these three here. The first one is a Elvis Costello album which I've never seen before. This was actually like in like the used section because it was opened, like, but it is a fairly recent album. It's one of his records called Secret, Profane and Sugarcane. So yeah, I'm not too sure what this album like is like about, mind you. From 2008 this one came out here. Says the inside of there just with the lyrics. It's a double record set, and the vinyls themselves are on this speciality label. I'll just show one of them like now. So yeah, this was the first find I got today. And then I also picked up a reissue of this album here by Flaming Groovies. This one is Shake Some Action. So I really always loved like sort of like the title song. Like, that's one of like, my favourite songs, like off like the 1970s like actually. So I just thought that like I would buy like the album. It's very sort of 60s like influence, like this sort of one, like kind of before like it sort of like came like back in fashion. Like in like the 90s. So like they do sort of like there's some songs they like they do cover of the Beatles song Misery and like She Said Yeah, a few like other ones like as well as like original like material like of course. So this is a really nice release. This is a limited edition reissue and it's on quite a nice sort of transparently sort of red vinyl. So yeah, another really nice pickup here. And then the last one for Waterloo which I managed to get was George Harrison's Live in Japan album here. Now, this is one which this is of course like the reissue like of it, like but in like the UK like these were very pricey. Like whether like I managed like to get this one for it was $35 like, but like in like the UK like it usually goes for like about at least like £35. So yeah, this was a nice one to pick up. Like I've always loved like the track listing, like the selection like of songs like which he does, like his revisits like a lot of like his Beatles classics. The performances are okay. They may be a little bit sort of like polished, like very rehearsed, a very sort of tight band, but like lacking like a bit of like sort of like passion. Like I feel like they're all on this sort of red vinyl, like on Dark Horse label, like just on black vinyl. So this reissue is like really like nice, very sort of faithful to the original vinyl packaging, just with like the printed like in the sleeves. And then the next couple are from a half-price books. I've got a few CDs from there. The first one is an album by Electronic called Twisted Tenderness. Now, Electronic was a band in the 90s which featured Bernard Sumner from New Order and Johnny Marr like off like the Smiths. And this was the last record like which they made. They made 3 albums, and this, as far as I know, is pretty much impossible to get like on vinyl. Not even sure like if it was ever issued like on vinyl. But this is a really good like album here. It's a little bit, it's sort of like, it combines sort of New Order sort of dancey stuff, like along with like sort of a more sort of like heavy sort of guitar, like sort of like orientated sort of thing. Like it's really good. Like there's a track list in there, so quite a nice, very cheap CD there. And then also found this album. This is one which James played like around the house, and like I really loved it. Like so I was very glad that when I seen this like on CD, like in half-price books. It's David Byrne's and Brian Eno's album, Everything That Happens Will Happen Today. Just a really nice CD copy of it. The vinyl of this, like a lot, like as with like the electronic one, pretty much like impossible to get. I quite like sort of like the CGI sort of like sort of like artwork like on it here. Like you just get like the lyrics again, like a picture like off them like out the back. And this is a brilliant record. Came out in 2008. This one, like I believe. So yeah, that's David Byrne and Brian Eno. And onto the vinyl records from the half-price bookstore. I found a copy like of this album. It is the Alan Parsons Project album, Eye in the Sky. Now I got this one here because well, not only is like a great album, like, but like when like we saw it, like James said that this sort of foil eye cover like is actually pretty rare. So I thought that I would like take a chance like on this record, and like I do like really like it. It's sort of like symphonic rock, like in that sort of similar vein to like a lot like Moody Blues stuff, like ELO, and that. So yeah, like overall like a really like good record here. Just like nice custom label here on the Aristar like label. So yeah, that is Alan Parsons Project, Eye in the Sky. And then also found a nice copy of this, which is Live Peace in Toronto, John Lennon and the Plastic Ono Band here. So this is quite a common record like in like the UK, but not so common like in like the shrink wrap. And like, as far like as I know, this is the original pressing of it, albeit like a American one. So you get like the inner sleeve there, and just from like the Apple label here. I mean, this isn't a great live album. John didn't perform very many live gigs like after like the Beatles days, and like this was like one like the first one, so it's mostly sort of like old like sort of like rock and roll covers, although I believe he does Come Together. Oh no, not Come Together, not on this one. He does Cold Turkey, and Yeah Blues is like the only like original like Beatles track like he does like on here, like from the White Album. Like the whole of their second side is just Yoko stuff, so that probably won't get like very many spins, to be fair. And the next album, I kind of pulled a bit of like sneaky like on like this one here. It's the Style Council's album, Confessions of a Pop Group. So this was another half-price books find, and like if luck would have it, they actually had like 2 copies like of it. One was a promotional pressing priced at I think $10. Like whether like the record like wasn't like in like however like the sleeve like wasn't like in like particularly good shape. The other one was priced at like a cheaper like $4.99, like whether the record wasn't in brilliant shape, but the sleeve was like acceptable, like a little bit of like ringwear there. So I kind of mixed and matched like a little bit. So like I've ended up like with like a sort of non-promotional sleeve with a sort of promo album here, like as you can see like on like the as you can see like on like the label there. But the main reason like why like I did end up buying this was because this one comes with the sort of insert, which is missing from my original British copy, and it's quite an insert here. Like you get a little, like I said, like when I reviewed this, a little painting to go along with each like of the album songs, which is really nice, as well as some lovely photos like of like the Style Council like on the back. So this was like well like worth getting like an extra copy, plus the one which I've got like is like a little bit beat up, like so it is nice to get like an upgrade copy of a Confessions of a Pop Group. And the last one for the half-price books was this Kinks album, Preservation Act 1. Again, another record which like in like Britain like is very difficult to find, like whether like in like America, like where the Kinks were well, like very like unsuccessful. They seem to have loads and loads and loads like of Kinks albums like out like in like the wild. So I managed like to pick this one up here. This is far from the Kinks' best work, probably like one of like their worst albums, but it is just for it is really just for like the collection. This has the original like inner with it, or it's got like the original like insert, like I must say, and it's on the RCA label for this release here. So that's the Kinks Preservation Act 1, one of their sort of early 70s sort of concept albums here. Okay, so next set of albums all come from San Antonio. Now the shops here were really like lovely people like at them. Like it was really friendly place. Like however like however the actual sort of like selection like off like records like maybe that wasn't like the greatest. This one comes from the first shop, which was called Janie's Records, like, and it's quite funny, like, in there, because like the guy, like, he was sort of like talking to us a lot, like, as it turned out, like, his like mother, like, had like owned the shop, like, since about the mid-80s, like, or something, and like she was sort of sitting there, like, this sort of like 92-year-old like lady Janie, sort of going through like these sort of like 7-inch singles, like, and like they were like so amazed that like I'd like sort of come from Scotland, like they were very like welcoming, like we were just sort of like chatting away, like we were just like really friendly, like they gave me like a like free t-shirt like as well, like, which is like in like the wash right now, but like I did like originally like I wasn't like going to get like anything from there, but since we were sort of so friendly, I kind of felt like I had to buy at least something, like, so I found like this Moody Blues record which I was missing, which is To Our Children's Children here, and like once again, like James assured me that this was a very good record because he is like quite a big like Moody Blues fan, and this, as far as I know, like had an insert. Oh, it's got like the lyrics like on at the back of it there, which is pretty nice. This is from I think 1968 or 1969, something like that. Just like a nice American pressing on the Threshold label. So that was a really lovely find from San Antonio. Okay, and the next couple came from another shop there, which I've forgotten like the name of. The first one is another record by a band called The Motors here now, by another great person like in like the VC, James Griffiths, like the vinyl professor, like sent me like a bit of VCLT, like, which was The Motors' second and third albums, one called Approved by The Motors and another one called Tenement Steps. Now I really loved like Approved by The Motors, like however Tenement Steps was like a little bit like overproduced, very slick like sort of sounding album, but this was their first record, which came out in 1977, and like I know that I love like one of the tracks on here, the opening number, Dancing the Night Away. That is a brilliant track, like, so I'm hoping that like the rest like off the album like it is in like a kind of similar vein. Once again, this is a shrink wrapped pressing, which is really nice, and it just is on the, I think it's a Virgin Records label here for this release, so that is The Motors' self-titled first album. And the next one up is a Beach Boys record. Now I don't normally buy like anything like I see like about the Beach Boys. Usually like I'm like quite like selective like about like which ones I could pick, because they did make like some like pretty like rubbish albums, like it has to be said. Like however, like this one I actually listened to like kind of like out of curiosity like on my Spotify like before I went, and like I found that I really liked it. I thought it was a very unique album, sort of lo-fi like sort of production, very sort of primitive like use like of like kind of like new sort of synthesizers. It's an album Love You here, or The Beach Boys Love You like it's called, and this was a really great price for it, like $4.99, like considering that I'd seen it like in that Cactus Music going for about, I think they wanted about $15 for it or something, so I thought this was quite a nice find here. There's the back of it there, and the inner sleeve just looks like this. There's a little bit of like a strange like sort of like message here, like sort of like it says, "To Brian, who we love with all our hearts," and it sort of reads like as a kind of like obituary slash sort of tribute to him, which I know that like he was quite ill like around this time, but like he certainly like hadn't died, so like it's quite a sort of like interesting like little like note there, like sort of tribute to like Brian Wilson, like he was sort of very central like on like the making like of this album. This is on the Reprise Records label for this release here, The Beach Boys Love You. And the next one from this store, which I got like quite excited about seeing, like he had a lot of basically like original like Rolling Stones albums, like all like quite like reasonably priced. The one which I picked is December's Children, which was like only $10, but the condition on this really like isn't great. Like I would later find that like these like American 60s albums like in general like aren't like worth like as much like as like their like British like counterparts. So this one is a little bit beat up. Like I could have like probably like in hindsight like done without like getting like this one here, because it's sort of like it's not even like glued together like very well. But as far as I know it is the original mono pressing, like on the London Records label. Like the record itself like isn't too bad, like it is mostly just like the sleeve which is sort of beat up. And this is a great track listed on it. Like you've got like Get Off of My Cloud on here, and I'm Free. What other tracks on like the other side? Like She Said Yeah, You Better Move. So yeah, there's some covers like on here, but also some really good quality original songs as well. So this is the Rolling Stones album December's Children. And now the next ones came from a store called Southtown Vinyl, like they packed in like the bag like a little sort of bumper sticker sort of thing here. So yeah, they got 3 things here, and this was more kind of just luck because it was more sort of like dance like orientated shop. They had a lot of like sort of like DJing like equipment, like as well as sort of dance and like hip hop albums, which are really like off like no interest to me. But like in like the new arrivals section, they did have a few 12-inch singles like which caught my eye. So the first one is a Lloyd Cole single, the song Forest Fire, from his like classic like debut album. And I've never seen this before like in like the wilds. Like I kind of just like stumbled across it and thought, well, I'll have that. It's got 2 B-sides which are not on the album, which is always good. A song called Andy's Babies and a cover of the television song Glory. So this was a very nice like if slightly like random find there. And then I was also lucky enough to stumble upon 2 12-inch singles from the wonderful XTC here, a band who like I've really recently like gotten into. Like me and James like both made like a video like on them like together, like which is on his channel, like I believe, and like James had like both of these, so like we really like didn't like need to fight like over like who was going to take them. So this is the one called All You Pretty Girls from the Big Express album. This has the B-sides called, I think it's called Washboard and Red Brick Dream, which is a very good song there. Like Red Brick Dream, like I know that one because it's a bonus track like on the Big Express. And that's the record label there. So that's All You Pretty Girls XTC. The other one is for the song Grass from the Skylocking album. This, as far as I know, is the original single release of it. So this has the B-sides Extrovert and Dear God, which like later like would become like a single like in like its own right. So this is another like very nice 12-incher here. And then the last record from San Antonio is a David Byrne solo record from, I think, the early 80s. It's the soundtrack to the Catherine Wheel here. So yeah, absolutely big fan like of like Talking Heads. The next step like is to kind of get like David Byrne's like solo work here. This was one of like his earliest like efforts, and like I mean like there's some like good tracks on here. There's a few which are Stop Making Sense, like Big Business and What a Day That Was. Although these are very different, like sort of like quite sort of like slower like versions like of like those songs. This one's quite nice because it comes with the original like inner sleeve there. There's a picture like of David Byrne like himself there. And the Catherine Wheel, as far as I know, was a sort of Broadway show like with David Byrne like done like the music like and like another guy called Tiwala Thorpe. Must have done like the choreography like actually like written like the show. This is on Sire Records, like, and I guess like a lovely copy like of David Byrne's The Catherine Wheel album. And like on the way back from San Antonio, we popped into another Half Price Books, like which if like you didn't like see like my last video, I said that it's basically just like a chain like of like used bookstores which also carry vinyl. Like I said, it can be really like hit and miss like what you get. Like in this case, like the vinyl selection like wasn't too brilliant, but I did find a CD like and like a book like which took my interest. The CD is a Morrissey album called Southpaw Grammar. This is his 1995 album, and this is pretty much impossible to get like on vinyl. Like it was issued, albeit like a very like limited run. Like it now goes for about £200 plus. So I thought I would make do like with the CD now. And like we listened to this like on the way back, and it's actually a really solid album. Like beyond like sort of like the first track, which is called The Teachers Are Afraid of the Pupils. Like it's a really like rocking, very sort of guitar heavy driven album, which I like really like. So that's Morrissey's Southpaw Grammar. Another sort of Morrissey related item is this book which I've got called The Smiths, Songs That Saved Your Life by Simon Goddard here. And I've been reading this, and this is a fantastic book. If like you're familiar with the Beatles book, Revolution in the Head, this is a very sort of similar format. It basically just goes through all the Smiths songs, like chronology, like sort of like saying a bit about the inspiration behind the songs. It's sort of concert history, and then sort of like television and like radio like appearances, like what they made. So yeah, it just goes through like every song the Smiths like ever done. Like so far, like it's been like a really like fantastic read. So that's Smith's Song That Saved Your Life. Okay, now the last few vinyl releases, we're back in Austin now. Like went to like a few more a few more like of like Austin's like finest like record shops. The first ones I'll show off from a shop called the End of an Ear, and this is a fantastic store. They had a lot of great sort of like used like sort of like 60s stuff, and like all really like fantastically priced. Like I thought, like I got like a bit of like a range like of like things there. Being like a little bit cautious, like a little bit like selective, like over like what I bought, but I still came out like with like quite a like significant pile. So like End of an Ear, really fantastic shop. First thing, this is actually something what like James seen and like was like intent like on getting, like with like I kind of like sort of like said that I really like wanted it, like so like he sort of like he agreed to let me have it. It's this sort of slightly odd like Aztec camera item. Now you might look at that and think it was just like a magazine or something, but it's actually a sort of 10-inch single release. So you've got a bit of a write-up like about like Aztec camera there. This sort of just comes out. There's more sort of artwork, and this is a live recording here. So you get 5 tracks like on like this 10-inch sort of EP here. So you get the songs backwards and forwards. The cover of Van Halen's Jump. What else are the Bugle Sounds again, Mattress of Wire, which is one like the early, very difficult to get singles, and the song Birth of the Truth. So this is really nice sort of like live, like 7-inch one. As it turns out, this isn't particularly like rare. It's just not something like what like you come across like in like the wild like every day. So a really nice find, and like thanks for James for like letting me like take this one. Next up is another sort of live EP of something which I thought was a lot rarer like than like it actually like turned out to be. Like it's still something like which I could think like they were very reasonable like with like the price and off. It's a Paul McCartney live EP called I think Live in Los Angeles, like Amoeba's Secret I think is sometimes like also called. So from the 2007 sort of like promo tour for like Memory Almost Full. This is just, I think it's 4 tracks, only a very sort of primitive packaging. It doesn't actually like say like which songs are on it, and like the label like is like pretty useless like as well. But interesting like odd item like again like which I've never seen like in like the wild before. Like got it for a very like reasonable like $5 there. The next one is the first record which I've got like from like this band. It's the Bee Gees. Like I'm using the title first there. So like we were listening to a bit of like early Bee Gees like out like James's house, and I really like actually quite liked it. It's very different like from like their sort of like disco like direction like which like they were going like in like the mid-70s. And so this must have been like their debut record, and like as far like as I can tell, again it is an original issued one like from the 60s. There's no tracks which I know like on here, although like I might like sort of like recognise like a few that when I listen to this. Again, I think this is like the original like inner sleeve of it, like sort of like the Capitol promo sleeve, and it's just on, I think it's on Atco Records for this release here. So maybe that's not like the like, original sleeve of it, like I'm not sure, but like still my first record by the Bee Gees. Quite interested to hear this one. They're also notably, as you can see, they're like a 5-piece band like at this point in time. Next up is another Rolling Stones album, and this is their album Rolling Stones Now, which I think came out in '64. This one, so this could have been like their debut record like in like America. Like I'm not like 100% sure, but like as with the Beatles, like they had a very sort of different like discography like in like America, like as they did like in like the UK. So again, as far as I know, an original mono pressing like of this, which was only like again $5. So like I was amazed like at like how like reasonable like the pricing was. And this is on, I think this is on London Records for this one here. So a very nice copy like of the Rolling Stones Now here. And then also in this store they had a lot of original Beatles albums like from like the 60s, like the US versions, and like I must say like I had a huge pile like in like my hand, like again like all like very like reasonably priced, like whether like after spending like all like the money like on like the stuff like I've shown like earlier, like I had to like basically like contain myself, like get rid of like a few, but I decided like to keep a hold like of this one here, and like if it's like the only like US Beatles album I ever get, like so be it, because I've got like the stereo box set there like with all like the UK ones in it like anyway. So the one I got was the Beatles 6, and as far as I know a original like American pressing of it, like in quite nice condition, a little bit of like staining like on at the back, but I mean for $5 like I could not like argue with this. I literally like could not like put this down. And like what's sort of special like about this one like is you get Yes It Is on here, which was originally just a B-side, and the song Bad Boy, which never came out like in like the UK like until a collection of Beatles oldies. So like probably this was like one of like the better like US albums to get. Just on, I think, on the usual Capital Rainbow label for this one here. So I'm not sure if this is the very first pressing of it. Not sure like if it's like a slightly like later one, but still a very good album to get though, like nonetheless. And the next one is this album, Fleetwood Mac's Bare Trees, which is something like which I see about sometimes like when like a record shop in like in like the UK, like where usually this cover's like got lots of ringwear, like it's usually like beat to hell. So I found quite a nice like American copy, like copy which didn't like really like break the bank like either. This is one of the earlier records. I think came out in '71, I think, on like this release. And there's no insert with it as far like as I know, that's just on the Reprise label there. So a very nice copy of Bare Trees. And the next album was probably one of the finds like off like the whole trip, like I would say. Like it's my first record like by this group, and like it was a little bit like off like what you might call like a blind buy. Like I didn't really know like what to like expect like from like the music, like, but when I got home I really had a great time like listening to this album. It's a copy of the Faces album Ooh La La, and like what drew me to this one was that it was a promo copy, white label promo, and this is just in amazing condition really. I mean like you don't like ever really see like used copies of this, or like when you do that you're usually beat up. So there's the vinyl there, just a white label promo. So like only like my second one like, which I've got like in like my collection. It also comes with the original poster as well, again in beautiful condition. Is it sold out again? Yeah, so all like the lyrics to the tracks are on that there. It's also got the sort of semi sort of fold out sort of cover there. I think it goes that way up, doesn't it, there? And then what makes this copy like even special like is like sort of the moving face like sort of artwork to it, like where like sort of like move like the mouth like out like eyes about. So yeah, brilliant album here, just a whole lot of fun. Like I mean like I'm not like the biggest fan like of like Rod Stewart, like, but I do really love like the Small Faces. There's 3 like ex-members like off them like on here, like as well as like Ronnie Wood's like contributions like to this record. It's all just really great. Like they were one of like the first like super groups like off like the time, and they just made together just some really fun, like really great like upbeat music here. And then the next one here, which is the third last one like, which I'm going to show, like I'm nearly done folks, was from another Austin shop called Breakaway Records here. Like once again like I've got like another like lovely tote bag from them. This is an album which me and James again like we listened to on one of his Blu-ray like audio CDs, and like I really loved it. Like I had like no idea like wow, like I've really sort of like neglected like this artist like over like all these years. Like when I finally got it, like my first Neil Young album, Harvest here, and I really struck lucky with this one here. There's a lovely original pressing of it, like original like US pressing of it. Just get like the gatefold in brilliant condition here. This one has the original insert with it as well, a sort of fold out insert with 2 sides on it. Just really lovely shape on this, and the record is on, I think it's on Reprise, isn't it? Yeah, that's it there. So really lovely copy of Harvest by Neil Young. James was a little bit jealous like off at this find, I have to say. So that was the only thing like from like Breakaway Records. It was a little bit like hit or miss like in there, like probably like lucky for me like because it meant that like I didn't really like feel the need to spend like any more money. But then after that we popped down to James's local store, which is called Piranha Records. Again, the used section like was a little bit like sort of like hit or miss, but I picked up this record, which is one which James had got, I believe, like in like the post like when we were down there, and I just loved it so much. Like I decided like to pick this one up like when I seen it like at Piranha Records. It's the Psychedelic Furs album called Mirror Moves here from 1984, and honestly, the singer sounds so much like David Bowie. Like I said to myself, like I said to James, that this is the record which like Bowie should have made like after Let's Dance, like if I'm being honest. This is a sort of like reissue of it. I think it's on Columbia or something. You get the inner sleeve with sort of nice star design, and just done a custom label, and the poster as well you get with this like is very nice. It's just sort of like the album cover, like, I believe. So like, yeah, like if I do become like a big fan like of like this band, this would be quite a nice poster like to hang up like in like my room somewhere. But this was a great record, like a great like first album like off like mine for theirs, Psychedelic Furs Mirror Moves. And then the last one for today is one which James very kindly like bought for me. Like we see this one like at like his local store like Piranha Records, and like it was just like a sort of like coincidence because like as James says, like you rarely see like sort of XTC albums like out like in like the wild, but they had a really nice original American copy of Skylark in here. So right, so we just like had to take it, like he said, like Ross, like I'll like buy this for you, which I was like very grateful for. Like I've got Skylark, but just like as like sort of like a sort of box set thing, so it is nice to get like the album like as like it originally like came out. It has the original like inner with it, and it's on Geffen Records here. So another brilliant find, like which I'm very like grateful like for James for like buying me this. So yeah, that is us done with this video. I hope you have like enjoyed like going over like all like off like the stuff like which I got. I'm definitely going to need to slow down like with like my buying like over like the next like couple like of months. But it was really great fun. Like I had a brilliant time like in like Texas like with James. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time for the next one. Goodbye.